Welcome to another edition of the SKNIS produced Week in Review. The Week in Review intends to highlight the top stories of the work of the Government of National Unity for the past week. I am Jamiela McPhail. Dwynette Eversley of Trinidad and Tobago is in St. Kitts and Nevis for the next 6 months to help guide the establishment of a federal youth policy. Ms. Eversley is no stranger to the Twin Islands Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as she frequently visited and engaged with local officials while serving as the program manager for the Commonwealth Youth Program of the Commonwealth Secretariat from 2004 to 2014. During and after her tenure with the Secretariat, Ms. Eversley worked with several Caribbean countries on their youth development initiatives, including Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, the British Virgin Islands, Dominica, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Turks and Caicos. St. Kitts and Nevis's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Youth, the Honourable Sean K. Richards, said that he was grateful for the technical and financial support from the Commonwealth Secretariat as well as from UNESCO in this process, which provided the youth policy consultant. He said Mr. Eversley brings a wealth of expertise and experience which will greatly enhance the end product and outline its basic functions.
Today marks a very significant and historic moment in the life of the Ministry of Youth and in the lives of every young person in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as we gather today to launch a brand new federal youth policy initiative. We have heard the request of our young people for more attention, more involvement, more opportunity, and more action. Today, we are responding to these calls, and we are bringing to everyone's attention and creating an awareness of our federal youth policy initiative, which will seek to achieve the finalization of the existing draft National Youth Policy, which I came into office and met being worked on for the past 15 years. I support the development of a strategic action plan for implementation of the new youth policy. The objective of this initiative is therefore very clear and is twofold. One, it is to formalize a new youth policy which has currency and relevance to our young people. Two, to outline a cross-sectional strategic action plan that will translate the policy into time-bound youth development programs and activities across St. Kitts and Nevis.
Minister Richards explains that the Federation's youth policy will be centered around a number of partnerships between a number of stakeholders.
The federal youth policy is designed to be the central planning tool for youth interventions throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is intended to serve as an overarching policy guide toward mainstreaming youth development in every ministry of government over the next 5 years. In describing the new youth policy, which we hope to achieve, I have mandated as a young and vibrant minister myself that this policy must be robust, it must be current, and it must meet the needs of the youth of our Federation for the day and age. It must take into account all of the changes in the socio-economic landscape of our country and consider recent developments at the international levels on issues such as globalization, human rights, freedom of expression, gender equality, climate change, universal secondary education, and the advancement of information and communication technology. It must also be a policy that provides for accessibility, diversity, participation and social cohesion, volunteerism, transparency, sustainable development, social protection, These are all of the principles of the youth policy, which are geared towards creating the ideal youth of compassion, creativity, discipline, culture, human dignity, moral and spiritual awareness, patriotism, economic participation, self-expression, and leadership. All policy values which will strengthen the capacities of our young people.
The task of meeting this mandate will fall on Ms. Eversley, as well as technicians from the Department of Youth in St. Kitts and in Nevis. They will review the current draft policy, go out into the field and engage with individuals and stakeholder groups, as well as produce a brand new document that reflects feedback from the consultants and take into consideration the realities of today's world. Persons in the society were encouraged to desist from disrespecting older persons, especially as we celebrate the month of older persons, as they are seen as gems to be cherished for their past and present contributions to nation building.
That came some years ago when persons feel discriminated at. When you say that old woman, that old man, the older ones look on that as being pushed aside. So we say older persons, make it sound like any other fancy word. I think that 60 up, that is the benchmark. You begin to come in that bracket from 60 up.
The month of older persons is observed every October. This year's theme is Take a Stand Against Ageism, with the sub-theme 60 Plus Counts. This was drawn from the United Nations official celebration of International Day of Older Persons on October 1st, 2016. It is meant to draw attention to the challenge and the practice of ageism. Deputy Director Ms. Anne Wigley explains the rationale behind moving away from referring to older persons as elderly. She appealed to persons to be sensitive to older persons as they too have feelings. She encouraged them to use words that are appropriate and that will be well received.
This theme really hit home that we must take a stand against ageism. For example, in our society now we're having so many persons who are living much longer, and the persons are wondering what they did, what they eat, what they're doing to be surviving. We will have to really have a reservoir of this information that we can give to our younger folks, that they must eat right, they must work hard, and they must sleep well, and keep away from stress. Working hard does not hurt. Being lazy makes you sick. And that is the encouragement that the seniors would tell you.
And in more news, the Department of Statistics in the Ministry of Sustainable Development is urging the general public to take precautions when giving out personal information, as there are currently persons who are posing as officers of that department under the guise of conducting a labor force survey. In an interview with the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, SKNIS, Carlton Phipps, director of the Department of Statistics, said that he was notified of such acts and that he encourages persons to desist from impersonating others, as this is illegal. The department has been informed that persons claiming to represent the Department of Statistics have sought to conduct household interviews in St. Kitts, said the director. We use this opportunity to state categorically that the Department of Statistics is not involved in conducting of any household surveys at this time. We also remind the general public that the conducting of household surveys by the Department of Statistics often commences with a public relations campaign, and field visits are carried out by officers who can clearly be identified as the agents of the Department of Statistics. He encouraged the general public to be vigilant and to report anyone who approaches their household to obtain information. Debt reduction, loss and increase of cost of correspondent banking services, mobilization of diaspora flows and remittances, and a call for the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to develop stronger partnerships with Caribbean member states were amongst the issues addressed by Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, at the recently concluded Governor's meeting with the World Bank's Senior Vice President of Operations, Cal Peters. This meeting was held on Saturday, October 8, 2016. The meeting with the World Bank in Washington, D.C. came on the heels of the 2016 Commonwealth Finance Ministers meeting, CFMM, held at the headquarters of the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. on October 6th. In his introduction at the governor's meeting, Prime Minister Harris, who was designated lead Caribbean speaker, focused on the main imperatives for the Caribbean, while he made special reference to the significant progress that St. Kitts and Nevis has made by reducing its record-high debt-to-GDP ratio. He cited the IMF's August 3, 2016 report, which stated, "The Federation's economy is in good state of health, and that the debt-to-GDP ratio is on a downward trajectory, which we will see plummet to the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union (ECCU) 60% target in 2016, well ahead of the other member states." Dr. Harris noted that this ratio has declined from 159% in 2010 and is projected to reach its 60% target in 2017. While drawing attention to the significance of the remarkable achievement, Dr. Harris outlined some of what this means for St. Kitts and Nevis. He said that this lower debt load reduces the high expenditures that St. Kitts and Nevis was incurring and the interest costs of financing the outstanding public debt. According to Prime Minister Harris, these savings are now made available for meeting basic human needs. Enthusiastic graduates who completed studies at the University of the West Indies UWI Open campus, especially those in St. Kitts and Nevis, were given the opportunity to attend their commencement ceremony on Saturday, October 8th at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort. For the second time, St. Kitts and Nevis hosted the UWI Open Campus Graduates Ceremony. The first ceremony was hosted in 2012. Sir George Allen, Chancellor of the UWI, offered congratulatory remarks to the class of 2016, as well as the faculty, for making sure that the students were present for such an auspicious occasion.
Let me welcome you to this ceremony to mark the graduation of the Open Campus class of 2016. It is a delight to see not only the graduates and their loved ones, but also such a goodly cross-section of the community. Your presence today is an affirmation of the value you place on what we do as an institution. My colleagues and I are absolutely delighted to see you, and we trust that you enjoy what for us is one of the most important events on our university calendar. But first, let me offer my congratulations to the class of 2016. I know that you believe that this is the best class ever to graduate from the University of the West Indies. And I will do nothing to disabuse you of that thinking. But also I must congratulate the faculty, which I think had no small part in your being here. So congratulations to the faculty as well. I'm pleased to be in St. Kitts again, and the thought of returning here evoked many pleasant memories. I have very vivid recollections of sitting on the pier, waiting to take the ferry to go to visit my colleague and good friend Lotke Linton Liebert, who I think is here today, and his family, and seeing flocks of pelicans of different ages. Their grace in flight and the ease to which the adults soared to great heights made me think of our own pelican. Those men and women who bear the indelible mark of the pelican from their education at the University of the West Indies. And I use the term education deliberately rather than training. Our pelicans have soared in multiple fields. We frequently boast of the many governors general who have been graduates of our university. We boast of the many prime ministers who have been graduates of our university, or captains of industry, and those thousands of individuals, often unsung, whose patient persistence in their daily tasks contribute to the life of the Caribbean as we know it today.
Chancellor Aline saluted the many men and women who bear the indelible mark of the Pelican pride from the University of the West Indies. He referred to the Pelican that is embedded in the institution's coat of arms.
I know that you believe that this is the best class ever to graduate from the University of the West Indies. And I will do nothing to disabuse you of that thinking. But also I must congratulate the faculty, which I think had no small part in your being here. So congratulations to the faculty as well. I'm pleased to be in St. Kitts again, and the thought of returning here evoked many pleasant memories. I have very vivid recollections of sitting on the pier, waiting to take the ferry to go to visit my colleague and good friend Lot Linton Liebert, who I think is here today, and his family, and seeing flocks of pelicans of different ages. Their grace in flight and the ease to which the adults soared to great heights made me think of our own pelican. Those men and women who bear the indelible mark of the pelican from their education at the University of the West Indies. And I use the term education deliberately rather than training. Our pelicans have soared in multiple fields. We frequently boast of the many governors general who have been graduates of our university. We boast of the many prime ministers who have been graduates of our university, or captains of industry, and those thousands of individuals, often unsung, whose patient persistence in their daily tasks contribute to the life of the Caribbean as we know it today.
You have been viewing another edition of the SKNIS produced Week in Review. This program is geared at highlighting the work of the Government of National Unity for the past week. I am Jamiela MacPhail. See you next time.